And guess whose words they were? Her own father, Thomas Markle, who has provided a scathing analysis, including revealing the multitude
Markle is
completely right, isn't he, Brittany? However, it is still quite brutal. This is his daughter that he is critiquing.
I don't know why, but I think she had something to do with him moving.
The father strikes first, not with silence, but with words sharp enough to crack glass. Thomas Markle doesn't whisper his doubts about his daughter. He broadcasts them to millions. The Duchess of Sussex, wrapped in Windsor silk and royal protocol, watches her own blood relative tear at her carefully constructed image. This isn't family dysfunction. This is public execution. The weapon isn't a sword, it's a microphone. And the executioner shares her DNA.
Whatsoever, we'd have nothing but respect and admiration for them. And the same feeling goes for all the British people. And actually, I want to thank the British people because they've been reaching out to me now and extending their feelings for me, and I really appreciate that.
Thomas, the big question, of course, is whether Harry and Meghan will be in London too. We don't know.
Power in the monarchy flows through bloodlines and documents, birth certificates, marriage licenses, official biographies. These aren't just papers, they're the architecture of legitimacy. When Meghan Markle walked into St. George's Chapel on May 19, 2018, she carried more than flowers. She carried a story. Age 36, American actress, Northwestern graduate, star of Suits. Every detail vetted, polished, approved by the palace machinery.
And if so, would you like to meet with them in London too during the Platinum Jubilee celebrations?
Interesting question.
But here's what they didn't count on. Family members with different stories, magazine archives from 1997, digital forensics that turn old photos into evidence. The monarchy thought they were managing a wedding. They were actually walking into an ambush. Because when your biography becomes your brand, every inconsistency becomes a crack. And cracks in royal foundations don't just damage buildings, they topple dynasties. The Duchess thought she was joining an institution. She was actually entering a war zone.
That if they know I'm coming, they won't be coming. But if they do come, I would love to.
March 1997. 17 magazine hits newsstands across America. Page 90. A name appears. Meghan Markle, age 21. Nobody cares. It's just another teen magazine, another forgotten issue destined for recycling bins and dentist offices. Fast forward 2 decades. That same page becomes a bomb. If the palace biography is correct, Meghan was born in 1981. Simple math says she'd be 15 or 16 in 1997, not 21. The discrepancy isn't subtle. 6 years isn't a typo. It's a chasm. And Thomas Markle, the father who should protect, instead points at that chasm and shouts,
totally trying to reframe everything in order to fit a specific agenda. And I'm always curious, how many versions of her childhood did she tell Prince Harry at this point? Because I've always been under the
betrayal cuts deeper than facts. A father possesses the ultimate insider knowledge. He was there for birthdays, school enrollments, driver's licenses. When he contradicts the official story, he's not just another critic. He's a witness. And Samantha Markle, the half-sister with her own grievances, doesn't just echo the doubts. She files them in court documents. She states them in interviews. She builds a case. This isn't gossip anymore, it's testimony. The family that should form Meghan's foundation instead becomes her opposition. Every childhood memory they share contradicts the palace narrative. Every photo they produce raises questions. The very people who knew her first now lead the charge against her. The catalyst isn't external pressure, it's internal combustion. The family tree becomes kindling, and they're the ones striking matches. The internet turns investigation into sport. Reddit detectives dissect yearbook photos. TikTok creators splice together timeline contradictions. Twitter transforms skepticism into viral content. A single magazine page from 1997 spawns 10,000 theories. The palace stays silent. Their traditional strategy: never explain, never complain. But silence in the digital age isn't dignity. It's blood in the water. Every day without response, the questions multiply. Was the Northwestern timeline altered? Did Hollywood age shaving follow her to Windsor? The spiral tightened. Then comes Archie's birth certificate. First filing, Rachel Meghan Markle. Weeks later, amended to Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. The palace calls it administrative consistency. Critics call it evidence of manipulation. If they'll change a baby's birth certificate, what else would they change? The mathematics become brutal. If Meghan was actually 21 in 1997, she'd be in her 40s at her wedding, not 36. That's not just personal vanity. In royal terms, it's constitutional deception. The fresh, modern princess narrative crumbles. The biological clock storyline shifts. Everything marketed about the wedding requires recalculation. Samantha Markle doesn't just whisper anymore. She roars. Court filings, documentary appearances, calculated interviews. She's not playing sister. She's playing prosecutor. And her evidence isn't emotional. It's chronological. School years that don't align. Job histories that don't match. Relationships that overlap impossibly. The spiral becomes a tornado. Every defender who steps forward gets pulled into the vortex. Palace sources stay anonymous. Official statements never come. The Duchess herself maintains public silence while her biography burns in real time. The institution built on tradition and trust watches its newest member become its biggest question mark. The storm peaks when documentation meets emotion. Thomas Markle doesn't just question dates, he questions character. His daughter, he says, lacks authenticity. Everything calculated, nothing spontaneous. The father who walked her to school now walks her to the gallows of public opinion. This is betrayal at its most intimate. Not a stranger's accusation, but a parent's testimony. He knows which buttons to push because he installed them. Every interview twists the knife deeper. The man who should defend her instead dissects her for global consumption. The palace faces an impossible choice. Respond and legitimize the claims. Stay silent and let them fester. Either path leads to damage. The institution that survived wars and scandals finds itself cornered by a magazine from 1997 and a bitter father with a microphone. Meghan's public appearances become performances of composure. Every smile gets analyzed, every gesture dissected. Is she 36 playing younger or 43 playing 36? The question poisoning every photo op. Harry stands beside her, but can't fight this battle. You can't sword fight shadows or challenge documents to duels. The irony cuts deep. The monarchy that demanded she fit their mold now watches that very transformation get weaponized against her. The biography they approved becomes the biography that haunts them. Every embellishment they might have encouraged becomes evidence against them. Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, centuries of carefully managed reputation. All of it trembles because of 6 disputed years. Not adultery like Edward VIII, not scandal like Prince Andrew, just numbers on a page that refuse to add up. The storm isn't about morality or betrayal of vows. It's about the most basic betrayal of all. The possibility that nothing is what it seems. That the fairy tale was fiction from page 1. Who wins when families cannibalize each other for public entertainment? Thomas Markle gets his interviews but loses his daughter. Samantha gets vindication but confirms her role as perpetual outsider. The palace maintains its silence but hemorrhages credibility. Meghan pays the steepest price, not just in reputation but in identity itself. Every achievement gets asterisked, every milestone questioned. Northwestern becomes not an accomplishment but a controversy. Suits transforms from career breakthrough to timeline puzzle. The wedding that should have been her crown becomes her cross. The reckoning extends beyond personal costs. This is about institutional damage. The monarchy markets itself on stability and truth. When basic facts become debates, the entire structure wobbles. If they can't get a birth year right, what else is fabricated? Harry watches his wife get dissected by her own blood. The prince who escaped to California to protect his family discovers geography can't cure genealogy. Your father follows you across ocean. Your sister's voice echoes across continents. The hunters aren't tabloids anymore. They're relatives with inside information and outside platforms. The real reckoning comes in the silence between public moments, when cameras turn off and crowds disperse, when a duchess looks in the mirror and wonders which version of herself is true, when a father sits alone, knowing he chose public vindication over private reconciliation, when an institution built on bloodlines watches blood relatives tear each other apart for sport. Nobody wins this war. There are only survivors and casualties, and sometimes they're the same people, walking wounded through palace halls and California estates, carrying scars shaped like question marks. The echo reverberates through every future royal decision. Vetting becomes paranoia. Background checks multiply. Every potential bride or groom faces archaeological examination. The Meghan precedent transforms from exception to cautionary tale. Future documentaries will dissect this moment, the point where family testimony trumped institutional authority, where a magazine from 1997 carried more weight than palace proclamations, where blood relatives became reliable sources for destroying reputations. The Echo changes how we consume royal narratives. Every official biography gets fact-checked by crowds. Every timeline scrutinized by strangers. The benefit of doubt, once automatic for royalty, evaporates. They're not above question anymore. They're drowning in questions. For Meghan, the Echo means permanent asterisks. Every future accomplishment shadowed by past doubts. Every initiative haunted by timeline disputes. She could cure cancer tomorrow and someone would question her medical school dates. The Echo doesn't fade, it amplifies. For Thomas and Samantha Markle, the Echo brings hollow victory. They prove something might be off, but what they broke can't be repaired. Family gatherings that will never happen, grandchildren they'll never hold, relationships sacrificed on the altar of being right in public. The institutional Echo is loudest. The monarchy that survived centuries discovers its greatest threat isn't revolution or republicanism, it's relatives with microphones and magazines with memories. The enemy isn't at the gates, they're in the bloodline. Look closer. This isn't about Meghan or the monarchy. It's about what happens when private histories become public weapons, when families monetize their dysfunction, when institutions built on trust can't trust their own members. Every family has disputed timelines, embellished resumes, convenient forgetting. The difference is scale and stakes. Your uncle's fishing stories don't make headlines. Your sister's age flexibility doesn't trigger constitutional crises. But add cameras, add crowns, add global audiences, and watch family friction become international incidents. The mirror reflects our complicity. We consume these betrayals like entertainment. We dissect strangers' timelines like detectives. We've turned family dysfunction into spectator sport. The Markles didn't destroy each other in private. They did it for us, on our screens, for our clicks. The real power isn't in palaces or titles, it's in controlling your own story. Once that control breaks, once your own blood relatives become your biographers, you discover that reputation isn't what others think of you. It's what your family is willing to say about you, in public, for money, forever.